Meet the Leaders is here, and so am I. Hi, I'm David Smith. Good to have you along with us for Meet the Leaders. And nice to have the first selectman of the great town of Fairfield, Mike Tetreau, as our guest on this edition of Meet the Leaders. And it's nice to see you, Mike, as always. Welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you. It's been an exciting time in Fairfield. So
well, it doesn't slow down in Fairfield. And in the outside honors that you are gleaning along the way don't seem to be hurting either.
Well, we've got a great group of town managers, we've got a great group of employees, and I think you're seeing that pay off in terms of the collective work they're doing. The big one certainly is being rated #1 as the most business-friendly town in the state of Connecticut by the Yankee Institute.
Isn't that something? The most business-friendly. And as you go down to Fairfield, you find that the businesses themselves are pretty darn friendly, as well as the town being ready for more business.
Well, there we do. We have one of the lowest vacancy rates around. Right? We have a complete, if you go down through downtown, you won't see any vacant storefronts. You'll see a lot of restaurants. You'll see a lot of activity. This time of year, you won't see much outdoor dining, but during the summer, you'd see a lot of that.
Oh, yes, you will.
And certainly have Fairfield Theater Company down there, too. But we have a 92% occupancy rate for our commercial businesses, and that helps the vibrancy of the whole town. And it's really, we're seeing a lot more businesses look at Fairfield, not only for this, but also we've also been recognized as one of the most sustainable communities in the state. We're given the Silver Award, which is the top award handed out by Sustainable Connecticut. But importantly, we had the highest score of any of the silver candidates. So
okay, because you're not alone in the silver category.
Right, there are 5 towns that were there, and technically we're #1 because of that. So we're very excited about that. And I think that's a statement in terms of how much our departments have been doing the right thing for years. We're now getting some of the recognition for that. Now that we've formalized that in our application and showed the state everything we're doing, we're getting to see the benefit of that.
All right. To what do you attribute, I mean, you're saying all these things over time have built up to this, but as you talk to businesses and so forth, which you do nonstop, what is it that they find so appealing about Fairfield that they can't wait to get in and join you?
Well, when you take a look at Fairfield, right, we've got 60,000 people. That means we've got a demographic constituency for each of the key segments. We've got great transportation between 3 railroad stations, 2 highways. We're located easily within an hour or so distance of 5 international airports. It's hard to find another town that can do that. In addition, if you look at the layout of Fairfield, because we're right on the coast, we're the one town in the entire state where you can walk to the beach, walk to downtown, and walk to the train. So it's a perfect place to bring that up. We're very kid-friendly, and if you look at what our sports teams have done over time, both Little League as well as youth football, and including our music programs. We were recognized a year ago for being one of the top music programs in the country across that. So there's just a lot going on.
So you've got a heck of a team working with you to pull this all off.
Both in terms of the employees and the volunteers. All right, I'd love to add up sometime all the volunteer hours between our elected boards, our sports teams, everything else. I think we have more volunteer hours contributed to our town than any other town in the state.
All right, now one might say, well, a town of 60,000, couldn't that make it a city?
We could be, but we like being a town.
What is there a benefit to being a town that a city doesn't offer?
Not that we found. I think it's if you drive through downtown Fairfield, you know, it hasn't changed except the number of businesses and restaurants in 40 or 50 years. It looks the same as when I walked through there as a kid. And I think people like that stability, like that history, they like that heritage. It's part of the character of our town. We've got Southport Village, we've got Southport Harbor, where the great ships used to sail out back at the turn of the century. Well, it's still a functioning harbor. We still have ships sailing out of there. When you look at all the parks, all the open space we have, the rivers that kind of frequent our town, it's just a great place to go. A great place to live, great place to do business, and certainly from my perspective, it was a phenomenal place to grow up, but with looking at everything going on, I wish I was 10 again.
You're doing all right. You're doing all right in your not so advanced age, as a matter of fact, at this point. To that end, as you take a look going forward, you know, let's face it, as wonderful as Fairfield and all these towns are, something is out there. You're aiming at something. You're looking, you know, setting up future goals and so forth. What sort of things are being mentioned as things that, you know, we'd like to have at some point, or need to have, or, you know, in 10 years should be having?
Well, as much as we're doing well, we're a AAA town, we've got a great financial foundation, we've had a well-managed tax situation for quite a few. We've got the 5th lowest tax mill rate in Fairfield County. So a lot of those things are going well, but let's face it, the state has some serious challenges. So we know our aid has been cut significantly back. We know GE moved out of Fairfield just a couple years ago. Those combined things, we lost $6 million in revenue, so we've had to make some adjustments in how we manage our expenses and how we manage our revenues from that point. So when I look ahead, we've got a strategic plan commission in place. They are looking at the next 5 to 10 years in terms of what does Fairfield have to do? Who do we want to be when we grow up? How do we focus not only on the financing issues and the state challenges that we know we're going to face, but what do we do for our seniors? What do we do from an affordable housing standpoint? How do we take care of our cultural and recreational events? What do we do for our downtown? What do we do from a zoning standpoint to make sure that we can continue to grow our grand list? That helps us manage our taxes because that brings in more money. But we don't want to lose the charm and character of our town at the same time.
Yep.
So any growth in that area, we really want to be strategic and targeted in terms of where we do that.
So this strategic planning group is going to be busy, well, I guess on an ongoing basis. It never stops, does it really?
Well, they have been, and what's right now, they're right in the middle of getting feedback from our residents. So they're conducting upwards of 20 different public sessions so that we want our residents engaged. We want this to be our strategic plan, not somebody else's. So we want to make sure that everybody has their say. Not everybody's going to agree with what we come out with, certainly, but we want to make sure everybody has their say, their input, so they're part of the process. And I'm very excited how the committee is working on putting all that together.
And the meetings for the public ongoing.
Ongoing.
There you go. That is Fairfield. And our first selectman, Mike Tetreau, who's our guest on this edition of Meet the Leaders. Wish you all the best. Great city, great town, and a great area, and obviously a great future to come. Thanks for stopping by, Mike.
Our Christmas tree lighting is Friday night. Stop by if you get a chance.
I'm going to be lighting another tree that night, but I appreciate that. All the best. Best of the holidays to everybody. And that's our show on Meet the Leaders for this particular one. For Meet the Leaders, I'm David Smith.